Rick Barnes makes some comments about his future. Can we play that? And then we'll discuss how long he is committed to the University of Tennessee. And good morning to all those on the message board. Good afternoon, good evening, whenever you may be watching.
Yes, and I'm pulling it up now. This is Rick Barnes. This was during the NCAA tournament, classic press conference that they do right before games. And he was asked specifically about his future after this year. And here is what he said. I'm going to pull it up now.
My last press conference at Texas when I was fired, the last question someone asked me was, do you think you'll coach again? And I had already accepted the University of Tennessee job. And I made the comment, yeah, probably sooner than you think. And I literally walked out of that press conference and got on a plane and went to Knoxville. And at the time when something like that happens, the movement parts in, out, you're somewhat numb. But I made the comment that the athletic director at the time, Steve Patterson, fired me. He didn't really fire me. He just carried out what God wanted him to do. And because of that, I really, truly believe that God brought me to Knoxville for a reason. And everything that I do, I want to live on that platform. It's the most important thing to me. It's more important than winning that game tomorrow. And I think God will make it perfectly clear when he wants me to step down. And my time will be up, but it's not now. I mean, if it is, it's I don't feel that. But I love coaching basketball. I love being around it. I know right now how hard we're working right now. We've already had a young man on campus after we got back Saturday, Sunday. We had a young man on campus that committed to us. And
okay, so a couple of things to unpackage that. One, Tennessee has continued recruiting. Now, and I can't remember if it was the New Sentinel story or if it was on 3's story, but he had one quote that to me made it sound like he was a little bit more open-ended. Then when you read into more quotes, I want to read that quote to you. And Caleb, it was this saying, quote, let me pull that up. We're already planning to have a team next year. I fully plan to be a part of it. That's a phrase that he is going to use at some point to cover his rear. And the reason I say that, Caleb, is because he will still be a part of Tennessee's basketball program, I believe, even after he's not the head coach. So I think he'll be some sort of an advisor. He doesn't leave on any sort of bad terms. He's a benefit to the athletic department just to have him around. That leads us to today's tough question, brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Based off those comments, let's make it a poll question. How much longer do you expect to keep Rick Barnes as the head coach at the University of Tennessee? Let's go 1, 2, 3, or 4 years or more. Boom. Today's tough question brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com.
Today's tough question. Boom. You heard that. Now take it. The Dave Hooker Show with Caleb Calhoun.
All right, Caleb. So how much longer? 1, 2, 3, 4, or more years? I give you those options.
Sorry, I was writing out the poll question real quick as we answer that. But, you give me those options, Dave. I'm still saying 4 or more years. I know I'm crazy. I know. I get it. I know you guys think I'm crazy. But I keep saying this, and I got a column about to come up on this right now, that it's time to put these Rick Barnes retirement rumors or this retirement talk to rest. Rick Barnes has so many things that really serve as pure evidence that he's not going anywhere. One, the reason he's in this, Dave, he said it there. And if you know Rick Barnes, you know he's not lying. Rick Barnes is in this because he believes God put him to be in this. He believes he is carrying out God's wishes to develop and coach players. I mean, I would assume you probably think he believes that too, don't you?
Him. I think most coaches lie. I think he's the exception to the rule. He's that 5% or even 1% that doesn't. So I think he's planning on coaching next year. I wouldn't go beyond next year, just personally, because I know how close he was to retiring last year. I wonder if he thinks he's getting Zakai Ziegler back for next year. That may be a motivation, because he could still he could still go after another year. I don't know that he could get it. I don't know that's going to happen. Obviously, they didn't have much luck with the Alberto Osunda situation. So, and I haven't even heard Ziegler say that he wanted another year, but that would make a lot more sense in the timing of it. Now, the potential pitfall is this. If he coaches 4 more years, listen, when you get past 50 or probably even 40, there's a precipitous fall off in your amount of productivity unless you stay on top of it. So I'm not saying that'll be him, but if there is, it's understandable. And the last thing you want is Tennessee barely making the NCAA tournament in his last 2 games. And then Caleb, it kind of leaves a bad taste in everyone's mouth. That's the one thing I'm afraid. That's that's the one thing I'm concerned about, because his legacy at Tennessee is so incredibly strong. I would hate to see him go out on a bad note.
Well, it wouldn't. I see. Here's the thing. He wouldn't, because here's the other reason he's in this. He's not just in this for the coaching and developing of young men because he believes that's what God wants him to do. Again, he's the one person who believes that. I'm not usually one of those people that are like, I'm never usually a fan when someone said, God chose me to be this person that was in this enviable dream position of mine. But like in this case, I think he believes that. But number 2, and this is a big one, Rick Barnes is one of the unique old coaches positioned to benefit from the changes of college basketball. He may hate NIL. He may hate the transfer portal. Nobody benefits from the transfer portal better than Rick Barnes does. It's like literally, if you know about Rick Barnes' coaching style, he's positioned to thrive in the transfer portal. Meaning he's going on 70. He is 70 going on 50. I've told you guys that. Rick Barnes is 70 going on 50 because uniquely, the style of coaching he does was outdated in the 2000s and the 2010s, but it's actually perfectly aligned with the times for the 2020s because he likes to develop players. He's going to get a bunch of one-and-done seniors who are really good at the lower level who will embrace his coaching because they want to fine-tune a part of their game. That's how you get Dalton Connect. That's how you get Chaz Lanier. And he's going to get another one next year. We just don't know who. But like this is going to keep coming. So that's a huge part.
Today's tough question is also our poll question. What are our options again, Caleb?
Based on what Rick Barnes said Thursday, how much longer do you expect him to stay at Tennessee? 1 more year, 2 more years, 3 more years, or 4 more years? 4 or more years.
Let's get the answer to that. Brought to you by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. Banks & Jones. All right, Caleb, give me the results of our poll question, which is today's tough question. Be sure and fill in the message board if you would like, and tell us exactly why you think Rick Barnes will coach 1, 2, 3, or 4 or more years. But what is the poll question on the YouTube page? We encourage you to check it out.
Based on what Rick Barnes said on Thursday, how much longer do you expect him to stay at Tennessee? 38% say 2 more years, 25% say 1 or 3 more years, and then 12% say 4 or more years. I'm on the 12%. I think he's here for 4 or more years. I'm just going to ask you, Dave, if you saw a coach in his 50s, would you think he only has 4 years left?
No, but I don't agree with you at all that he's
Rick Barnes is effectively in his 50s.
You've never been 50 or 70.
Yeah, but okay, hold on.
No, it doesn't matter.
No. The last 2
you don't know what it feels like to be 50.
The last 2 presidents elected were 78 each. If you can be 78 and elected president for 4 years, you can be a head coach of basketball at 70 for 4 years.
I don't know. You got a lot of aides when you're not bad aides, but good aides. David said if they don't grant that 5 for 5 rule this year, he loses ZZ, Chaz, Gainey, Meshack, Igor, Dubar, and Carr transfer. That's why Orange Blood says only 2. I'll stick by what I said a couple of weeks ago, and I got absolutely torn apart because I'm not supposed to tell another guy when to retire. I'm just telling you, my concern is that he stumbles down the stretch. And this is the perfect time to retire. No matter what happens, you're at least in the Sweet 16 again. You've coached your players. Let's say Ziegler's moving on. We don't know that yet, but you don't have him. It's the absolute perfect time to move on. And Orange Blood is absolutely right. Man, your health can deteriorate in high stress jobs at that age. It certainly can. Now, I've learned things about Rick Barnes through doing some digging that he's a pretty relaxed, chill guy. So I don't know that he feels a pressure like a lot of coaches. Like I get the feeling that Rick Pitino absolutely detests going to practice and thinking about the challenges he has to face until he's on the court. I think Rick Barnes is pretty chill, listening to some kumbaya driving down the road as he goes to practice.
This is not high stress for Rick Barnes because he's not lying when he says he's not in it for the results. He's in it for the development of players. If a player wants to develop and learn from him, great. If they don't, that's their loss in his mind. Okay, this is Rick. He's not stressed doing this. He is thriving doing this. This isn't like, I mean, again, this isn't like Nick Saban, who I do think like Nick Saban did love developing players, but Dave, come on, Nick Saban was in it to become the greatest coach of all time, wasn't he? He wanted to be that more than anything else.
I think it was pretty 50-50 with him. I do think he liked developing players like Barnes does, but he definitely had more hubris than
Barnes. Yes, exactly. He was on a mission. Rick Barnes, I think, is fully in. I think he is fully committed to just developing people and players. I look, if Rick Barnes retires without a national championship, I don't think he cares. I don't think he has a trophy case for a ring.
I've got people that are like, say that you have a government job or a military job. I've got people that I know that are talking about retirement, and some have even retired, Caleb, because you do the math. If you start in the military at 18 years old and 25 years, that's 53. So a lot of people are retiring. People ask me, when do you want to retire? I don't want to retire. I love my job. So, I mean, I see Howard Stern doing it till 70. That's what I would like to do. But I just don't know that that's possible as at a head coaching position where things could go south in a heartbeat. The flip side of that is I don't think Rick Barnes will get worked up about much of anything. And I think if Danny White comes to him, now you can't say you slipped or something like that because you risk an ageism lawsuit. But if you say, hey, I just think we need to go in another direction, I don't think Rick Barnes is going to throw you under the bus. I think he would still be happy to be a part of the program in a consultant's role, and you could package that a little bit differently. Orange Blood points out that Joe Paterno coached until he was 84, 85, and he was probably forced out after that debacle. He was. There have been other coaches. How old was Bobby Bowden? And I do find it interesting. I don't know about Paterno so much, but I think a lot of the long-term coaches like Bowden probably had that good moral, faith-based center that gave them comfort when things didn't go so well coming down the stretch. So, listen, I think that Rick Barnes obviously deserves the pass to coach as long as he wants to at Tennessee. And I mean that even if Tennessee's struggling to make the NCAA tournament 4 years. I just think this is the perfect time to walk away. Now, he is about, I think, 35 games or so away from being Tennessee's all-time leader in basketball wins. So that would be that at Tennessee, and then he's the all-time leader at Texas. So it does paint a picture that if Barnes wasn't able to make the Final Four, which would be his second and would erase a lot of doubts about his career, you're the number one all-time basketball coach in terms of wins at two different places that are football powerhouses that you didn't have the same support that North Carolina and Duke have. That's a pretty darn good resume, even if it's just one Final Four on his resume.
Yes, and I need to address a couple of things for some of the things people said real quick. Rick Barnes is nowhere close to Joe Paterno, and I mean this in not just in the crime against humanity Joe Paterno overlooked. Guys, I was living near Penn State country at the time. Joe Paterno had not been coaching for a decade plus. He was literally a weekend at Bernie's. Like they were like pulling him up with puppet strings. It was honestly sick to watch that Joe Paterno would have that level of an ego that I get to say Penn State's head coach, but not coach at all. He didn't do anything. And by the way, last 5 years, Bobby Bowden didn't do anything either. Watch their press conferences. They didn't know who their players were. I can guarantee you.
If Paterno so much as stubbed his toe, he was in the press box with his
foot up, getting credit for the win.
No, I agree. I mean, Rick Barnes does not have, and basketball just in general, you don't have the opportunity to kind of be I'm sitting in the chair coach. He's going to be the head of the program. He's not going to be.
Except Pat Summerher last year, which that was just a disaster all the way around for a lot of reasons.
No, it was. But he's not going to be a coach in sleeping like Joe Paterno.
No, he's not. And I mean, again, for those who don't
sleeping, I thought I'd get some more love from that. Coach in sleeping.
I love it. No, that's a good one. I do love it. I mean, go back and watch Big Ten Media Days the year Joe Paterno was fired. He was asked about 7 questions. Who's your starting quarterback going to be? Who is your starting running back? He was like, I don't know. We haven't played any games yet. How do I know that? That was literally his quote, guys. How do I know that? We haven't played any games yet. Like, that's not an answer you give at Media Days if you know who your players are. Okay, Rick Barnes is totally fine. He's going to be here for a while. And he's just, like he said yesterday, he just recruited Troy Henderson. He's not lying about that. That's a 4-year developmental guy that he loves coaching.
Well, I mean, it's not exactly a splash pickup.
That's who Rick Barnes go. These are the people that he's in the business for, Dave. He's in the business for guys like Zakai Ziegler and Troy Henderson. That's who he loves coaching. That is where he puts his focus and his energy all the time.